as a lot of you probably know at this point, we are doing 2 different fairs this year. So we're doing one virtual and one in person. We've been doing the virtual fairs for the past couple of seasons, so it's possible that some of you have already seen what that looks like, but we haven't done an in-person fair since before the pandemic. So we're really, really excited to be back in person again. We're excited to be welcoming people to our campus and giving you the opportunity to have those face-to-face interactions with employers. So today we're just going to go over stuff about both fairs, anything that you might need to know to feel confident and ready to go. So we'll talk about why you might want to attend a career fair in the first place. We'll talk about preparation for the in-person fair, which will be on this next coming Friday, the 23rd, and then the virtual fair will be the Friday after that. So we'll talk about the preparation for both of those separate fairs, how they're similar, how they're different, and hopefully we will have some time for questions at the end. Feel free also to put questions in the chat box as we go along. I may or may not see it in time, but I can definitely cover it at the end, if not as we're going. So just real quick, why should I even attend a career fair? Some of you maybe have never been to a career fair before. There's several different reasons. So if anybody is maybe a graduating senior, you're starting to think about plans for next year, you're actively looking for a job, you might find employers who are actively hiring. You also might be looking for internships this summer. Maybe you're still going to be in school, but you want something to do during your summer to add to your resume. There are going to be lots of employers who are looking for interns, maybe even have co-op programs. Or maybe you're somebody who isn't really actively looking for a professional opportunity right now. Maybe you're an underclassman, maybe you just joined Tufts. That is fine. I still think that it's always really worth it to go to career fairs just to explore and learn and start making connections. Maybe you have a sense of what you want to major in, but you don't even know what kind of opportunities exist in that field. Just walking around, seeing the different booths, seeing different employers that exist can help you get prepared ahead of time for that process coming up later when you do start thinking more seriously about what you want to do. So as I mentioned, we have 2 different fairs this year. So we have the in-person fair and we have our virtual fair. So I'll start by just talking about real quick the in-person fair. As I mentioned, it's going to be on September 23rd from 11:30 to 2:30, and that is going to be, of course, in person. So it's going to be in the Gantcher Center. Really big space, so we're really excited. We have capped our employers at 100 employers because we don't want to overwhelm people. We don't want to make the space too crowded. As we all know, we're still sensitive to COVID concerns and space concerns. So we'll have 100 employers exactly who will be at the fair, and they're just going to be set up in booths around the space, and you can just wander around and check in at different booths and chat with people and take any swag or posters or things that they might have brought with them. There is also going to be a LinkedIn photo booth available. So if you have a LinkedIn profile and you want to have a professional headshot that you can put there, we are going to have that photo booth available. We'll just have people line up and you can take a quick snapshot. I do anticipate that there's going to be a lot of interest in that, so there might be a little bit of backup in that line. I do want to let you all know that I just learned the other day that there's going to be a resource fair happening later that afternoon on campus as well. I think it's on top of the library, and they're also going to have a photo booth. So if you don't get a chance to get your photo taken this time around, you could still pop on over to the resource fair, and hopefully between the 2, everybody will be able to get their headshots. So then we have our virtual fair, which is going to be the following Friday, September 30th, from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's going to be held on Handshake. It's going to be just like the past few fairs that we've had since 2020. So some of you might be already familiar with how that works. But basically, you set your own schedule. So you can do group sessions or one-on-one sessions. Basically, employers that sign up to be at this fair are going to create their own schedules for the day. So maybe they'll have a couple of info sessions at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and then they'll also have some one-on-one sessions open to meet with students individually. So what you can do is you can see all the different employers and what time slots they have available, and you can just kind of set up different slots for yourself. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that will actually look like in practice. But that's kind of the difference between the 2, is instead of just wandering around looking at booths in person like you would in the Gantcher Center for the in-person fair, for virtual, you are creating your schedule ahead of time. That means that you're also going to have a working computer and internet access. So again, we'll talk more about the tech needs for the virtual fair later on as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to talk a little bit about more specifics of how to prepare for our in-person career fair. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So again, welcome. Thank you. It's great to see a good turnout for today. Excited about the fair in person for next week. And so I'm going to start with talking about signing up for the fair. And Will is going to walk through that shortly, specifically on how to do that through Handshake. Pretty self-explanatory, but Will, you want to add the date to your calendar so you don't forget for next Friday. And there's going to be over 100 employers from different industries that are going to be attending. And you're going to see a lot of companies that maybe you've had your eye on that you're thinking about connecting with the recruiter. And so it's great if you go into Handshake and look up those employers to kind of discover what opportunities they might be offering that you haven't heard of. So some things to think about are what are the jobs or internships or co-ops that they're hiring for, and looking at the location and checking out their website, as I mentioned, and then thinking about what they have to offer, you know, as you go networking and connecting. So one of the next steps would be to think about your resume. And one of the services that our office provides is resume review. And we'd love to see you either in person or virtual. You can make an appointment. It's a good way to get your resume reviewed and to make a game plan sort of before the fair for next Friday. You can go into Handshake and sign up for a general appointment or one that's specific to your area. For example, my area is government international affairs and policy, or Katie, who does specifically, she could help you with creating resumes for the arts. So yeah, that would be a great first step. And you can also attend career fairs, career labs, sorry. Those are 10 or 15 minutes long, and they are with our fellow career fellows, and the labs are every day, and we're located in Dowling Hall. It's between 12 and 2 p.m. And you can also, there's virtual offerings on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So another step related to your resume, it would be great if you upload it into your Handshake profile, because that's where the employers will be checking you out to see what you've done for experiences. And you want to bring some copies of your final version of your resume to the fair. So when you're walking around connecting, you can hand that to them. So when it comes to thinking about envisioning walking around the career fair, some things to keep in mind, because there are going to be a lot of students at the fair, and you might not have a lot of time to have real in-depth conversations. So one of the strategies and approaches to think of how you can walk around and do this is to think about collecting any handouts or scanning any QR codes and thinking about the questions that you want to ask about opportunities. So when it comes to preparing your intro, and that's basically how you're going to introduce yourself when you're walking around. You can structure it in this suggested way, and it kind of it really makes it easier for when you're walking around. You can rehearse this or have it, you know, ready to go. Think about you're talking about your name and your pronouns, what you're studying, your major, if you'd like to include that, your year, why you're attending the fair, and what you're looking for, and why you're interested in this particular employer. And then any questions that you might have. So for example, the sample that we have here, if I was doing it and walking around, and I kind of want to help you frame it, I just went last week to the club fair that was really great out on the lawn. I don't know if any of you got a chance to check it out. But basically I walked around and did this exactly to get to know students that are representing different clubs. So kind of think of it in that way, and you're going to be asking questions about learning more. So example for mine was I'd walk up and say, hi, I'm Kelly. I use the she pronouns, and I'm a junior, and I'm really interested in education. I'm attending the career fair today to explore and learn more about opportunities that might be related other than teaching. I'm really excited to be talking to you because I read about your internship program, and it seems like a great opportunity to gain experience working with younger children. And could you just tell me a little bit more about the internship program that you have? And so that's kind of a sample of kind of how you can approach it in a real casual way, but professional, in that you're giving them all the details of who you are and what you're looking for. So when it comes to the day of the fair, we have some tips on what to bring, and that would be your ID card for checking in at the door, your phone so that you can scan those QR codes at the employer's booth that they'll have, your mask. While it's not mandatory, there will be a lot of people there, so bring what makes you feel comfortable. Copies of your resume so that you can hand them out during conversations with employers as you're connecting, and also your friends. Have a good time at this. Think of it again as an opportunity to walk around and connect with people, and you can compare notes with your friends afterwards on who they talked to and who they got to meet during it. When it comes to what to wear, we recommend thinking of it in terms of what would you wear if you were having dinner with your grandparents, in the sense that it's a polished look, avoiding logo t-shirts, sneakers, jeans, keep your accessories and jewelry to a minimum, look friendly, approachable as you're, going up to the tables. And like Willa mentioned, there will be a photo booth available where you can get a headshot taken, and you can use that for your LinkedIn profile, which is really cool and handy for having a professional photograph on your profile. And so, so this is a great way to put your best foot forward, to dress professionally, not only for the photo, but also when you're connecting with the employers. So what to do at the booths. So you're, like we mentioned, you're going to walk up and introduce yourself and have your questions ready for how you want to approach that. And then you're going to be looking around for handouts to give you more information. Any free swag that they're giving out is fun. And the scanning of the QR codes that you can follow up. It's really great if, as you're connecting with people, you get their employer contact information, and this could be recruiters, because this is a great opportunity that once you have this information, you can follow up and say that you're applying for an internship that you know that this employer has posted. You can follow up with the recruiter and let them know that you've actually applied for that. So there's a lot of different ways to approach this that can be very helpful for you. And also check out if they're going to be at the virtual fair. That would be another opportunity. So after the fair, some things that are really helpful to help you stand out is, once you've connected and walked around, had a great time meeting different employers, got their contact information, you can follow up afterwards with sending a thank you note. And these are the touches and the things that really make you stand out as someone that's really interested in wanting to make that connection. So you can do this by email, totally fine. And you can find in Handshake the employer's profile, and check out also post-fair if they are hiring and what opportunities that they have. And as I mentioned before, a good way now that you have contact information is, if you do apply for something, you could reach out to that recruiter contact that you met at the fair and let them know that you applied. So it's a great way to keep in contact with these connections that you made at the fair. You can also, when you're in Handshake, you can hit, there's a follow button in there, and you can press that, and then you'll get any alerts about jobs or opportunities sent to your email. So it's a good way to follow those companies that you're really interested in. And if you, the next step is the virtual fair after the in-person next Friday. So the 23rd is the in-person, the 30th is the virtual. And so there's going to be new employers and some returning across different industries. So you could prepare and check that out as your next steps. So actually, I'm going to turn it over to Willa for the next part about Handshake.
All right. So thank you so much, Kelly. I do see that we have some questions in the chat, so I'll get to those. But first, I want to just show you what some of this is actually going to be looking like if you go on to your Handshake profile. So give me 1 second here. So for those of you who have used Handshake before, you might recognize this page. This is the main homepage that you will see if you log into your Handshake account. So I want to show you how you can find the fair. So there's several different ways. The main thing I would suggest doing is just going to events right up here, top left corner. And over here where it says your schedule, if you've already registered for the fairs, they'll show up right there. If you have not already registered and you need to find them, they might even show up right as the first things that Handshake wants to let you know about. But if it doesn't pop up right away, up here you'll see that there's a section called Career Fair. So if you click on this, then all of the career fairs are going to pop up on your screen. So you'll see there's even some that are not specifically for our career center. Some of our other Tufts schools are doing their own fairs, like the dental school is doing a fair later. So that's where you'll see all of these are when you click on Career Fair. So say you want to attend the in-person career fair, you're going to click right here for the Fall 2020 in-person career fair. And now you're on the fair page. So you'll see a description of the fair. You'll see some of the information that Kelly mentioned before about your resume. If you want to attend drop-in hours at the fair, here's a link that will bring you to information about that. If you'd like to make an appointment with an advisor, you can click right here and that will bring you to the page where you can do that as well. Prepare for the fair, you already did that part. You're here right now with us today and that's wonderful. And as I mentioned before, the recording of this will be on our YouTube channel, and I'm also going to send all of you the slides for this presentation at the end of today as well. So don't worry, you will have access to all of this information. I know it's a lot. Some other things that you'll see on this main page. So if you click on all employers, this tab up over here, this is where you can see who's going to be attending the fair. So you can just scroll down, you can select specific categories, you can search for specific employers. And if you click on view details, you can even see more about what the company is looking for. So if we're taking a look at this one, Ab Initio Software, okay, we know they're based in Lexington, they're an internet and software company. It has a little bit of a description about who they are. It even has the different job titles that they're wanting to hire for. They're hiring for jobs and internships. They're looking for full-time employment. So these are some things that you can take a look at and think, okay, does this seem like a company that is relevant to my interests? Maybe, maybe not. You can scroll down and just see all the different companies. Again, there are going to be 100 different companies coming to this fair across all different industries. So keep in mind that just because Ab Initio might have nothing to do with your interests, there might be other companies, other booths that will be set up that are exactly aligned with what you want to do. I will give you a heads up that in this time of year, we typically have a lot of consulting, business, finance, tech, and then in the spring, we'll be maybe a little bit more heavy on education, nonprofits, the arts. So if you don't see quite as much of what you're looking for at this fair, definitely come to our spring fair and there might be more representation from companies you're interested in. But for those of you who are looking for something like business, tech, finance, this is a great place to be. You will see lots of companies that are within your interests. And again, there will be some of everything. So don't be concerned. I think it's worth it for everybody to come to all of our fairs just to poke around, and you might be surprised by a company that you weren't thinking about that actually might be really relevant to something you're interested in without you even realizing it. So if you do follow any employers on Handshake already, then if you go to employers I'm following, you'll see them right here specifically. So you already know that you love Ab Initio, but you're not sure if they're coming to the fair or not. You can be like, oh yeah, I've been checking up on them constantly and now I can see, yes, they are going to be attending the fair. So that can be super helpful. Just to show you, for those of you who maybe haven't done too much poking around on Handshake, say you want to learn more specifically about one of these companies, you can click on Ab Initio and this will bring you to Ab Initio's main page. And this is where you can learn even more about the company. You can see some photos. You can see other students from Tufts that have worked here in the past. You can even message them to see what their experience was like. Here you can see they will be attending the upcoming fair. If they were hosting any events, you would see that on this page. You can see jobs that they're going to be hiring for. All of this is right on the Handshake page, which is super helpful. This isn't true for all companies, but for this company, you'll see this pops up here. Interested in working at Ab Initio? Chat with someone on the inside. So they have an opportunity to do video chat or messaging with their recruiters. So that's super cool as well. Now, say I really like Ab Initio and I want to be alerted whenever there's any new things coming up that they're hosting, whether it's an event, if they're hosting new jobs, if they're going to be attending fairs. I can go over here to where it says follow, click follow, and now I will get notifications anytime there's active activity happening on Ab Initio's main page. So that's a really great way to keep up on what's going on. Say a company doesn't have any job postings now, but they do decide to hire more in the spring. If you follow them on Handshake, then you'll be alerted when they do start posting jobs. All right, so those are some of the main things on Handshake. I'm going to do another screen share later today in this session to show you about the virtual fair, but I do want to pause there and go back to our PowerPoint. And again, I do know that we have some questions coming in the box, so don't worry, I will get to everybody's questions by the end of this session. So let me go back over here to our PowerPoint. And I need to make it bigger. Why can't I get rid of this screen? There we go. All right. So now we're going to transition into talking about the virtual fair. So again, as I mentioned, I do encourage people to come to both fairs. You never know, there might be some companies at the virtual fair that were not at the in-person fair, so you want to get a bigger range of companies. There might be companies that come to both, and that could be super cool because say you meet somebody at the in-person booth, but there's a million different students lined up to talk to them, you don't really have a chance to connect, you really want to get more time one-on-one with them. See if they're attending the virtual fair. If they are also attending the virtual fair, then they might have some one-on-one opportunities. You could sign up to talk to that recruiter one-on-one over screens. So just something to keep in mind that it is worth considering coming to both fairs, not just one or the other. So how is the virtual fair different from the in-person fair? So a few things, and again, some of you may have already attended a virtual fair and have a sense of how this works, but one big bonus, you can attend from your own home, right? You don't have to come all the way to the Ganter Center. You can do all of it from your own computer. You will also have the opportunity to meet employers via group sessions and one-on-one sessions. So the group sessions are basically just kind of info sessions. So those will be for a larger group of students. They'll be 30 minutes long. We usually recommend that companies host at least one group session, but we don't know if that will necessarily be the case for every single company. So you'll want to check their sessions, see what they have on their list, and you might want to attend an info session. And then they'll also, as I mentioned, have one-on-one sessions. Those are only 10 minutes long, so they're pretty quick, but they're a really nice way to network. If you want to meet with an employer and have a chance to really introduce yourself, have them remember your face, then signing up for one-on-ones could be a really great opportunity. Going along with that, you will have the power to create your own schedule. So we'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but essentially what happens is that the different companies that are coming to the virtual fair, they're going to create their own schedules ahead of time. So what that means is they will say, okay, from 1 to 1:30, we're going to do a group info session, and then from 1:30 to 1:40, we'll have an info session, a one-on-one, and then another one-on-one, and then another group, right? And so if you click on a given company that you're interested in, you can see what slots they have available, and you can just kind of poke around and add different sessions to your schedule. And then before you know it, you've got your own schedule set up for the day. There is also going to be a Zoom help room available for any questions that you have. If you're having tech issues, if your employer didn't show up to a session, if you're just not really sure what to ask or what to do, feel free to jump into our Zoom and there will be somebody available to chat with you. And I'll share that Zoom link later. So a lot of the preparing for the virtual fair ahead of time, very much the same process as the in-person fair, right? You're going to register for the fair on Handshake. Make sure to add that to your calendar so you don't forget. You want to update your resume. Again, you can come to our drop-in hours. You can make an appointment with an advisor. You definitely want to make sure to upload that resume onto your Handshake profile so that if an employer wants to look at your Handshake profile later on, they can go on there and they can read a little bit about you. And then you also want to research employers, right? So just like Kelly mentioned, you're going to take a look at the different employers who are going to be attending the fair. And if there's anybody who really stands out, or if you're doing a one-on-one, especially with any employers, you want to do a little research on them, come up with some questions to ask so that you know how to spend that time. Now, there are some key differences about how to prepare for the virtual fair, so I'm going to mention some of those now. To follow up on Handshake profile, not only do you want to upload your resume, but there's a couple other really important things that you want to consider on your Handshake profile. So first of all, you want to make sure that your profile is complete. So you'll see when you go onto the profile page on Handshake that there's a little section that tells you how complete your profile is. So it'll be like, you're 97% complete. You still need to fill out this one section, right? So definitely take a look at that and see if there's any pieces that you haven't already filled out on your profile. The reason for that is that sometimes an employer might be wanting to specify who they're connecting with. Maybe they only want to meet with juniors and seniors because those are the only ones that are relevant to the work that they're hoping to fill positions for. You want to make sure that you've specified on your profile if you are a junior or a senior, because if you are, but you don't say so, then you might be excluded from signing up for a session with them. So I would say the main things to be looking at are your major and your minor. So if you already have a major or minor, if you're not an incoming freshman, you want to include those on your profile. You definitely want to include your GPA, and there's a little box you can click to make the GPA hidden from employers. I would not click that box. You want them to be able to see your GPA. Again, some companies might say, we only want students with at least a 3.0 to be able to set up sessions with us. So if you have at least a 3.0 GPA, but you don't have that on your profile, companies will not see you and you will not be able to sign up for sessions with them. Another really important one is work authorization. So that's something you'll want to think about as well, making sure that you have all the accurate information on your profile so that you are meeting with the right employers. Another thing that can be really helpful to add onto your profile is what kind of jobs you're looking for. Are you looking for jobs in Boston? Are you graduating and moving to California, and so you're looking for jobs in California? Update all of that on your profile. That's helpful for you because Handshake will then give you more tailored opportunities that are more relevant to what you're looking for. But it's also helpful for, recruiters who might be poking around on Handshake and filtering all the students who have X major and are this and that and trying to see who might be a good fit for their company. And if they don't know what you're looking for, then they might be less likely to reach out to you. The final really important Handshake thing that needs to happen before the fair is to set your profile to community. So you'll see on your profile on Handshake that you can set if you want people to be able to see your profile or not. So sometimes people prefer to be able to use Handshake for their own means to look for jobs and things like that, but they don't actually want anybody to be able to see their profile. For the sake of this opportunity, in order to participate in the fair, you must have your profile set to community. So you need employers to be able to view your profile. This is just purely a tech logistical thing. You will not be able to enter the fair if you don't set it to community. So make sure that you go ahead and do that. Now I want to talk about creating your schedule. So we talked a little bit about it before, but just to give you a little bit more clarity on that, because I know it can be a little bit confusing. So you're going to want to browse the attending employers and sign up for sessions based on what they're offering. So again, not every employer that you want to meet with is necessarily going to be at the fair. They're not necessarily going to have one-on-one sessions, but a lot of them will. So you want to be specific about looking at who you're interested in talking to and setting up a schedule that is going to be most interesting to you. And you also should check back through the week because there might be some employers who haven't registered for our virtual fair yet, or they have, but they haven't finished putting together their schedule yet. So you want to check back in case somebody maybe hasn't put up a whole group of one-on-one opportunities where they really want to be able to meet with students, but they don't put up that offer on Handshake until closer to the fair. So definitely check back. Another really important thing that I will say a million times as we get through the rest of our slides today too, don't be late to your sessions. One-on-ones happen so fast, right? They're only 10 minutes long. So if you're 5 minutes late to your one-on-one session, then you only have 5 minutes to meet with an employer. And that's just not very much time. You might then get carried away and then it pushes longer than the 10 minutes and then you're behind and they're behind. So it's really, really important that you keep track of the clock and you know when your next session is starting and that you show up to the right sessions at the right time and don't ghost. Just show up. it's really, you know, the employers are here for you, and you might be taking a slot that somebody else would have wanted. So it's really important that you do show up for your sessions. So you can see over here on the right, just an example of what a schedule might look like. So when you log into Handshake, you might see, oh, I'm really interested in this company, HPR. They have a group session from 1 to 1:30. Okay, I'm going to click add to schedule. So now I know that from 1 to 1:30, I'm going to be going to my group session with HPR. Then after that, maybe you're interested in Clearview, and Clearview has a one-on-one available at 1:30. That's perfect. I'm just getting out of my group session. Why don't I sign up for a one-on-one with Clearview right after that? And so on, right? So then you can look at all these different companies, see which ones have one-on-ones and group sessions when, and create a schedule for you. You also don't have to necessarily attend the whole day. So, you know, on this sample, I gave myself a break from 2 to 2:30. Maybe there weren't any companies I'm particularly interested in at 2. Maybe I just want to have a little bit of a snack break. And then maybe after 3:30, 3:40, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I've met with all the people I want to. I don't need to sign up for every single time slot. So it's totally up to you. Make of it what you want. Another thing that's super, super important for the virtual fair is just being on top of your technology, because unfortunately, we all know that things can go awry, even in the best of circumstances, when you're trying your hardest to make sure that everything is ready to go. Something, you know, maybe your computer dies, maybe you forgot to bring your computer charger into the room with you. So plan ahead. You want to make sure that you have good wireless connection. You want to make sure that your camera and microphone on your computer are working. We really strongly recommend using Google Chrome as your browser. So if you don't typically use Google Chrome, maybe you use Firefox or Safari, I really do recommend downloading Google Chrome. It's free, and it's just a really good browser that will work well with the Handshake app. If you are unsure if your wireless is working, if your camera and microphone are working, you can test your network ahead of time. So if you go to this website, networktest.twilio.com, I recommend doing that the morning of, before the fair starts, checking all of your technology and just making sure that everything is working smoothly before you get started. Again, look at the space around you before you start. Did you remember to bring your charger? Did you make sure that everything is ready to go? Did you make sure that you're sitting in a spot that is close enough to your wireless router that you have good wireless, right? So these are just things to think about ahead of time so that you're not racing against the clock trying to fix your tech right before talking to an employer. All right, so I'm going to pause and show what some of this looks like on Handshake, and then I'm going to come back to the PowerPoint one more time for some follow-up points. But I did want to just show you what creating your schedule actually looks like, since I know that that can be a little confusing. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to go back again to my page here. So now I was still here on Ab Initio's page before, but let's go back to the home page. So here's again what our home page looks like. Again, we can go to events. We can go to the Tufts Fall 2022 Virtual Career Fair. And I'm going to register, right? And it's important to register for both, but it's especially important to register for the virtual fair because that's how you can set your schedule. The in-person fair, if you forget to register, not the biggest deal in the world. You can still show up to Ganter Center as long as you have your ID. We can get you signed up for the fair. But for the virtual fair, you have to do it ahead of time because that's the only way to set your schedule. So I'm going to click on register here. And it's going to redirect me to a little registration page. So I'm just going to fill this out really quickly so you can see what it looks like. So maybe my primary goal is to explore opportunities. I do want my resume to be included in a resume book at the end of the fair. So that's something that you can opt into if you'd like. I understand that I have to create a schedule, yes. And the no-show policy. So as I mentioned before, it is really important that you not ghost your employers, that you show up to your sessions on time, ready to go. We do have a no-show policy that, you know, your Handshake abilities might be withdrawn or might be limited if this is something that we see happen a lot with you. So definitely keep that in mind, that it's really, really important to show up to any events that you RSVP for or sign up for. So yes, I understand that. I'm going to click finish. And now I've successfully registered for the fair. Hooray. So now here we are on the main page for the virtual fair. And again, you'll see all this information about the fair, some additional supports and resources, the no-show policy again, and then employers attending. So I'm going to go back up here actually to where it says available sessions, and you're going to see again all of the different employers that are attending, and you can see what sessions they have available. So the first one I see here is Alpha Sites. So I can see a little bit of a description of who Alpha Sites is, and I can see, oh, okay, they have a group session, an info session from 3 to 3:30, and they also have 8 open sessions available for one-on-ones. So I'm going to click on this guy, and I can see, okay, what do we have here? So this is a virtual session. Here's who's going to be speaking. Okay, confirm. I'm going to add this to my schedule. So now it's showing me, okay, cool, yeah, I'm all set to go. If I want to add my resume to my profile, I can do that. Now let's take a look at the open one-on-one sessions. So you'll see here, they have lots of different opportunities. So say you're busy at 1 o'clock because you're going to be attending another company's info session, but you are free at 2:10 and you really want to talk to a recruiter from Alpha Sites one-on-one. You can click, okay, yeah, I want to do the 2:10 option. Again, you can see more information, hit confirm, and now I have registered for my one-on-one. So you can go ahead and just go down the list and see all the different employers. Right now, we have about 85 employers coming to the virtual fair, but there are still more that are signing up every day. So again, keep checking back because this list will be updated. And make sure that you go through the whole list because you'll see there are 6 pages worth of employers here, and you don't want to miss the one that happens to be on page 6 and not get the opportunity to meet with them. So take a look at everything that you have as an option and then start poking around. You can also put something on your schedule and then get rid of it and put something else instead. So there's definitely room for kind of playing around with it if you need to alter things. You can even go right over here to your schedule. And this is where you can see who you have already signed up for things for. So we can see, oh, I already signed up for a one-on-one with Alpha Sites. That's from 2:10 to 2:20. And then I have another group session with Alpha Sites at 3. Oh, but I have open blocks all around here. So this is something that now I can go in and look at the other employers and fill out that time with other opportunities. So that's just kind of a basic overview of what that looks like. Again, keep coming back to this page, keep checking back in, see if any new companies show up or any new opportunities that you want to join. If there's a company that you know is coming to the fair, but you're not seeing an option to set up a meeting with them, that might be because their sessions have already been all filled up by other students, so get on that early. Or it might mean that you just are not qualified for what they're looking for. So maybe they're specifically looking for students of a certain major and your major does not align. Maybe you're an international student and this company is just not equipped to hire international students. That means that they might not show up on your list. So don't be concerned if that happens. You can reach out to us if you're really confused and think there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to see this employer, and we can try to troubleshoot it with you. But generally, whoever shows up under available sessions, those are the employers that would be a possible fit for you. And if it's an info session, anybody can join an info session, right? So even if maybe it's not in your major, but it's just something you really want to learn more about, feel free to go to an info session and get a little bit more information. Okay. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint again. I apologize for all of the back and forths. I know it's a little bit confusing, but hopefully it's helpful to see what things look like in the flesh. So here we go back to my PowerPoint. All right, great. So, day of the fair. You've done all of this prep work, you've created your schedule, you've figured out your wireless situation, you know where you're going to be sitting, all of those good things. What do you want to do on the day of? First, double, triple, quadruple check your tech, right? Make absolutely sure that everything is still good to go. Just because it was good yesterday does not mean it's still good today. Find a quiet location. So see if there's somebody somewhere in your room, somewhere quiet that has good Wi-Fi, but also is just not too disruptive, right? You want to be in a nice space where you can focus, where if you're talking to a recruiter, they're not going to be distracted by whatever noise is going on behind you. So think about that if you can find a good quiet space. Polish your look. So we talked a little bit about that for the in-person fair. Same goes for virtual. So even though you're not in person, they'll be able to see this much of you, right? So think about what you're wearing here, at least, even if you're in sweatpants on the bottom, they might not be able to tell, but you just want to look polished, right? So you might want to, I like to throw on a pair of earrings, but you don't have to do something like that. Just maybe don't wear a t-shirt, don't wear anything with any crazy graphics on it. You know the drill. I'll say it again, be on time to your sessions, do not be late, keep track of the clock. And again, do not ghost. Please show up to the appointments that you are scheduled to show up for. So one last little thing that I wanted to talk about was just how to make the most of your one-on-ones. So Kelly already walked you through how to kind of prepare your intro so you know how to talk to an employer at the in-person fair. It's pretty similar. If you have a one-on-one with an employer, take that opportunity to ask questions that you might have, introduce yourself and share just a little bit about who you are, maybe what your major is or what your interests are. Maybe you're really interested in learning more about their internship program and you want to see if it's a good fit. Just give them some general details about who you are and what you're interested in and what your career goals are. And hopefully they can have some insight for you and you can get to know them, make a connection, which will always be helpful later on for your career search. Be courteous, right? These employers are taking time out of their day to meet with you. Show enthusiasm and curiosity. Ask tailored questions. So again, you want to do your research and think ahead of time about who you want to meet with and what you want to ask them. So be thoughtful about that so you come prepared. I recommend taking notes, maybe having a little notepad next to you where you can write things down, and make sure that you ask for their contact information as well, because as Kelly mentioned before, you are going to want to send a follow-up thank you note to anybody who you really connected with. It'll help you stand out. It will show that you are really thinking ahead. Maybe you have follow-up questions that you want to ask them. It's just really good to have their contact information so you can follow up. And then, as I mentioned, we do have a student Zoom room. So on the day of, if you're freaking out, if you're having tech issues, if anything is going wrong, you can jump into the student Zoom room and we can help you try to troubleshoot. And then let's just talk real quick after the fair. This is pretty similar to the things that Kelly already mentioned, but again, you are going to want to send thank you notes, particularly to people who you have one-on-ones with, who you connected with, and want to make sure that they know that you still remember and want to have opportunities with their company. Follow those companies on Handshake, go and find their page, hit that little star button up on the top right corner so you can see if they have upcoming jobs or opportunities that you might be interested in. And if you do apply for any opportunities, make sure you tell the recruiter. It's definitely worthwhile. Say you talk to Sarah at a one-on-one during the virtual fair, and then you see that they do have a job that's perfect for you. You submit an application, go back and let Sarah know that you just submitted an application, because then she can advocate for you. She might remember your name. She might know the person who is doing the hiring and can say, hey, I had a really great one-on-one with this person. I think you should definitely call them in for an interview. So it's definitely worth putting that on their radar. And finally, here's some helpful links. So again, I'm going to send this PowerPoint out to all of you so that you'll have it for reference, so you can click on these links then. There's a link for how to register for both of the fairs, virtual and in person. This is our General Tufts Career Center website where there's tons and tons of helpful links. Here's the link for our career labs. Those are our drop-in hours if you want to come by and get your resume reviewed, etc. Here's the link for signing up for career advising appointments if you want to talk to an advisor before the fair or after the fair. And then here's the link for our student Zoom room. So that's all the basic information that you need. Now I will go through the questions that you have in the question box, but you can also feel free to put yourself off mute. So let me stop sharing my screen here. And here we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of this page on my screen. All right, we're back. Does anybody have any questions for me that have not been answered yet? Again, feel free to take yourself off mute. I'm going to be looking through the chat box right here as well. So I already mentioned that there will be some overlap in employers that will be at the virtual fair and the in-person fair, but sometimes there might be some new employers at one but not the other. Will there be an arts media focused career fair this year? So there will be more likely more of those types of employers in the spring. We are hopefully going to do a networking night or something similar in the spring for students that might be interested in those kinds of employers. Again, there might be some who will be at these fairs, so it's still worth attending and seeing, or at least going on Handshake and taking a look at which employers are going to be attending. Are we able to ask your advice for what companies to visit, or are they split into what major the position is oriented towards? You can definitely ask advice. That could be an opportunity to come do an advising appointment or come to drop in and just kind of talk through it. Look through the list of employers on Handshake, and if there's anyone you're not sure about, you can reach out. They also will usually have information about who they're going to be hiring for, what kind of majors they're most interested in. So you can kind of do your own research and see which companies seem to align with what you're looking for. Mostly all of that is going to be on Handshake for you. Where can we make a general appointment on the Career Center? So that link is in the slides that I will send you afterwards. The video recording of this session will be uploaded onto your YouTube channel, so you'll be able to see that there. Should we be going to the virtual fair and the in-person fair? Yes. Obviously, you can just come to one or the other if that works better for your schedule, but it's definitely worth coming to both. I think it's really unique to have the opportunity to talk to employers at booths in person, and then also to have the chance to attend some info sessions and do some one-on-one appointments virtually. I think the combination of the two can be really cool. Are there companies from all over, or are they mainly concentrated in Massachusetts? That's a great question. I would say for the in-person fair, it is far more likely that those employers will be nearby. There might be some who are traveling to come to this fair, but I'd say most of them probably are nearby. For the virtual fair, it's open to anybody, right? Since you don't have to travel to a physical location, it's very possible that there will be some employers from across the country. Let's see, how high GPA is recommended to post? That's a really good question. I think you can kind of use your discretion. I'm not sure that I have a good answer for that at the moment, but it's, I know that some companies are saying they want to meet with people who have at least a 3.0. So it's probably worth putting it on your profile, even if it's exactly a 3.0 or a little bit higher, because then at least you'll still have the opportunity to meet with those employers. Obviously, if you have an amazing GPA that you're really, really proud of, absolutely put that on your profile as well. How to set profile to community, I can't find the option. Great point. I can reshare my screen and show you that before we're done. I'm seeing that Sue has put some things in the chat. Thank you, Sue. That's very helpful. How do we get more information about interested companies on top of their official website? Go to their Handshake page and see what they have on their Handshake page, and then go to their website. I think those are usually the best places to look for information about different companies. They might have some overlapping information on both. Sometimes looking at their specific website rather than just looking on their Handshake page might give you a little bit more sense of what's going on in their company. Could recent grads, class of 2022, attend the in-person fair? Yes, definitely. You are still welcome to come. We are opening the fair to alums, and especially if you're a recent alum, then it's very likely that there will be opportunities that might be a good fit for you. Any other questions? I'm gonna share my screen in just a second to show you how to change. Okay, here, I'm gonna share my screen right now real quick, and I'm gonna show you. So this is what it looks like if you go to your profile on Handshake. So if we were back at the main page, go over here to your little initials in the top corner, click on my profile. And here's where you can edit your profile to update some of those things that I mentioned. Since I'm not a student, my student profile is only 15% complete. So obviously I'm going to want to add some more in there. So you can see I haven't added any work experiences. I haven't added organizations. And so those are examples of things that you would need to fill out in order to get that number to go up a little bit higher. Now, if I scroll down here, you can see it says your profile is visible to employers, students, and alumni across all Handshake education institutions. You'll be able to message students and alumni who have similar interests or experiences. This can be changed anytime in settings. So if this pops up on your profile page, great, you can get to it easily. You can also go over here to settings and you'll find the same thing. But I'm just going to click on this hyperlink since it's right there for me, which is amazing. And if I go to settings, then let's see here. Where does it have that? Privacy. Here we go. So community, that's the one that you're going to want. And again, it does say that it's recommended. So first thing on the list, pretty easy to find. If you were just employers or just private, then you will not be able to attend the virtual fair. You need to make sure that you put yourself on this one right here, community, and then you might have to press save update. And then you should be all set. Any other questions in our last few minutes? Hopefully I answered everything in the chat here. I'm also going to put my email address in the chat. So if you have any other questions at all in preparation for the fair, you can email me. I'm happy to help out. I'm happy to even jump on a Zoom call and do a screen share if you're confused about something. You just want everybody to feel prepared, feel ready to go, feel excited. I know I'm really excited to be having our first in-person fair in a while, so that's really cool. Okay. Not seeing any more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and close the Zoom and the recording, and you will get these slides in your inbox so you can go back and reference them, and it'll probably take a few days before the recording gets on YouTube, but you can rewatch it there to reference anything that we mentioned. You can share it with friends, etc.